Okay, I know that not all of you guys are rolling in money. I'm not rolling in money. I play with a lot of tech. I also buy it, and that's not a winning prospect. But we have hard economic times coming along right now, and they're just getting worse at this point. And even outside of that, I mean, most of my audience is not rolling in the dough. I know who you guys are. You know who you are. You're the homies. So I'm not the type of guy to grab only the most expensive laptops. They look really nice on like creator type stuff, so bougie and like nice like shots where you bring the camera in. There's a really dramatic light on it, lots of RGB. I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. I want you guys to have laptops that do what they're supposed to do for what you need and don't break the bank. Unless you're balling out, then sure, do that as well. That's sick as well. But for a lot of people, you're looking at something like this. This laptop has it all for the price. If you've watched my reviews in the past, the HP Victus has always got a recommend from me, and I've recommended it to people all the time because there are all these different tiers of laptops, tiers in terms of like ratings and rankings. The HP Victus here is in the absolute lowest in terms of cost for gaming laptops. It's way down there at like the bottom of the barrel in terms of like, okay, I need to open up my wallet. What can I get that I do not have to spend a fortune? It's actually the HP Victus. It's not a very expensive laptop for what it has inside. Like you actually get good specs. They have an RTX 5050 in this one here, and it runs fantastic. This one here is the lower CPU. I intentionally got the lowest spec I could get on this thing because I wanted to show you guys what you can get with the lowest spec. 210H Intel in here, 5050, RTX 5050 here, and it does just fine. It does just fine in terms of like professional tasks and gaming. I have no complaints for what it is. You can spec this out slightly higher. You know, you can beef up the CPU at an Intel 240H if you need a little bit more compute on your CPU. Feel free to do that. But whatever it is, the HP Victus is a budget monster for what it is. You do not pay remotely as much as some of the other laptops out there. Truly, honestly, their prices are just crazy this year. Even on some of the budget stuff out there, they're like unapproachable. And HP Victus has maintained that clean gamer / professional look. Really impressive internals on this thing and good performance for what it is. And most importantly, it doesn't break the bank. Long intro. Let's jump in. I'm going to show you why I highly recommend the HP Victus or Victus. Okay, let's have a quick look at the HP Victus here. We're on the American website. For easy transfer of currencies, $8.59. It looks like it's on sale, $8.59, so $150, $140 off right off the bat. That's nice. There's other sales as well you can stack. Let's look at the base model here. So there's blue, there is mica silver, which is $15 cheaper, and powder pink. Honestly, the pink looks pretty sick, to be honest. Kind of like that quite a bit. Blue, I also think looks quite good. Black is what I have here. I just wanted to keep the cost as low as possible, but honestly, personally, I'd probably grab the blue. I had a blue Victus before. It looks sweet, and the pink one looks dope too. I like the pink one a lot. Probably wouldn't worry about that. You can see there's different options here. You can go with a 5050 and 210, or you can go with a 5060 and 210. So you're basically paying $120 for a GPU upgrade, which honestly is not bad. 5050, 5060, but again, you can keep the costs down. This is a decent one here. You get a CPU bump and the same GPU. It really depends. And you can go up to a 240 and a 5060. Up here, I mean, you're getting a little expensive. You could probably start to get into like one of the lower range Omens at this price. So it's okay with some coupons, but I'd probably start to look at an Omen over here. But I mean, here, this is the model we have today. 210 and 5050, just absolute base. You can upgrade the RAM, but I mean, looking at the prices here, you can certainly go with them, or you can buy it on your own. It's your choice. Again, I went with the absolute base minimum. I just upgraded it myself, but I think this is probably one of the sweet spots here for just pure gaming tasks. Jumping up to a 5060 is not going to hurt. I mean, for $120, sure, it's going to give you a little bit more gaming performance, probably 15 to 20%. CPU is the same, so people who are doing more gaming, like heavy gaming type stuff, if you play a lot of competitive, online games and you're looking mainly at CPU performance and or if you do coding, that kind of stuff, this is probably the upgrade you want to go for there. So okay, so here is the laptop. Easy to get into. You just take out some screws. Honestly, just going along there, it was super easy to pop the bottom off. Take that up there. Now it is a plastic bottom, but it's a thick premium plastic. It's hard to describe. People may think of plastic as always bad, but not necessarily if you can keep costs down and actually weight down. And there's a look inside of the laptop itself. Again, for a budget offering, it surprises. I mean, these things are not very expensive. You get them for a very good price. This is a newer model. They will eventually continue to drop in price as well. And honestly, HP does a really good job with these Victus, because sometimes, I mean, when you get into, you know, the budget offerings, some companies will really start to skimp on the internals. We don't see so much of that here. So we have here a pretty big battery here, not, you know, the biggest around, but 70 watt hours. That's a respectable battery. Speakers are going to be one area where they're not going to put in, you know, premium high wattage speakers. Obviously they have to have somewhere that they start to cut back on some money, obviously. We do have upgradable RAM, one stick in there now. Let's take that out just before I start truly fiddling with things. Okay, just plug that and plug that just in case. So we do have one stick of RAM in there, easy to upgrade. You can see that there. It is a single 8 gigabyte stick, which, to be honest, is not enough at all. It's just simply not enough RAM, but it ended up keeping the cost down like a ton by going with one stick. I mean, you can easily spec this out with more. You could go with 16, 32. You can just grab another one of these and put it in, right? No problem. I don't have another one that I can see right now, so I'm just going to upgrade the RAM here. I'll put in, you know, a couple sticks here. I'm going to probably go overkill, to be honest, and I'm going to put in 64 gigabytes. So just as a proof of concept mainly. So this is, you know, 64 gigabytes of G.Skill memory, good DDR5 memory. I could just put in a 32 gigabyte kit or even a 16 gigabyte kit, to be honest, but I kind of want to prove that it can be upgraded this high as a proof of concept once again. And that's how I roll. Okay, did that wrong, like that there. Yeah, NVMe's, you also have upgradability there. So you have a single NVMe here, full 2280, single NVMe here, full 2280. I don't even need to test it. You can put dual-sided in both. I can just see that. So you can put in a dual-sided NVMe here, for example, and get this thing up to 8 terabytes on that one, 8 terabytes in there, whatever. I'd probably just leave the operating system one there and then put a 4 and 8 in there, whatever you want to do. Leave that one there. Not the most crazy motherboard or anything like that. You do have upgradable Wi-Fi, some empty space in here, but that's fine. They do have two very large fans, to be honest. These are actually pretty big fans. The Z height on them is pretty good. Not a thin laptop, so you don't necessarily, not a super thin laptop, so they don't necessarily have to struggle to get, you know, the lowest profile fans in here, but it's still relatively thin for what it is. So those are like basically as thick as the laptop is going to be. That's fine. You can see there's some structural pad stuff just to make sure that doesn't actually press on the fans. If you press on the bottom of the laptop, so that's good. That should move a ton of air, to be honest. 2 heat pipes, big enough heat pipes, to be honest. There is a APU, there's a GPU and a CPU under here, so you're going to have, you know, potential to produce more heat, but with 2 big heat pipes, good VRM coverage, and 2 big fans, I don't actually expect this thing to run super hot or actually super noisy, to be honest. So it actually looks pretty damn good inside for the, you know, the market segment that this thing is in. I don't see anything wrong. Dual NVMe, dual SODIMM, upgradable Wi-Fi, and real good cooling, good battery, and whatever speakers. I mean, honestly, just be real with yourself. What more could you possibly want in this price bracket? This thing was not very expensive to buy, and honestly, for what it looks like inside, I'm pretty impressed here. So here is the laptop. Very nice. Honestly, these things are budget from HP. They segment out, you know, they have the HP Omen and they have the Omen Max, and that's just the way they are. Every company does that. That's how it works. This one here, though, I mean, it is quite nice, honestly, for what they are. I've always found these Victus to be pretty nice, to be honest. Not super thick. It's also not the thinnest thing in the world, but it's also not super thick. It's a reasonable laptop, not a big, bulky, massive thing. Right? It looks pretty slick. It's got its kind of jetpack on the back there, but I mean, even that's kind of reserved, right? You get the gunmetal. It's all covered in fingerprints because I've been taking it apart. But that's one of the benefits, right? Like, it's a nice gunmetal rather than being like a matte black. So you can just give it a little quick shot of some spray or water or whatever. Give it a wipe down. And honestly, they're pretty easy to clean, right? With the gunmetal, they're not terrible. Once that dries off, it'll be nice and clean again. Little Victus label there. Some little labels there. Very good. Let's get a weight on it, like a real weight, as shipped weight. 2,236. Not the lightest thing in the world, but again, reasonable, not too bad. Charger here. It starts to become a little bit heavier, but again, there's so many heavier laptops on the market. I consider this fairly reasonable, right? 3 kg. So, I mean, that's a respectable carry weight. If you're taking this to class, using it throughout the day, you don't need to take the big barrel charger if you're not going to be gaming, because it does charge over USB-C. So for something that is reasonably portable, reasonably light, reasonably thin for a gaming laptop, I mean, you have the barrel charger option for when you need it, but you also have the USB-C for when you need it. On that note, ports left side, you do have the barrel plug-in. That's how it charges with its full power. USB-A does have power, so it can basically charge devices if needed. Headphone microphone combo jack. Nothing on the back. Well, exhaust, but no ports on the back. Right side over there, HDMI out for displaying on a screen. Gaming laptop makes sense. Ethernet's always nice to have on the right. Very good. Another USB-A, and you do get USB-C. It's single USB-C on this laptop, so it's not a port monster. Again, it's not an HP Omen. There's segmenting here, but it does support power. Like, you can actually power the laptop off of it. Nice bottom here. I just like the way they look, honestly. If you're going to get something that doesn't cost a fortune, it is nice to get something that actually looks really good despite that. So that's that there. Inside, a little bit of a chin, but again, it's fine for what it is. The inside of the Victus I also find to be quite clean. I just generally like the way they look. You'll probably hear me say that a lot. I think they look quite nice. You do have that gray again. I've been using this for several hours. I did accumulate a little bit of fingerprints, but they're easy. I mean, even like that basically gets rid of most of them. Obviously, if you eat a bag of Cheetos with these, it'll get a little grosser, but whatever. You do actually end up with a numpad, full size keyboard, reasonable size trackpad and everything too. It reminds me of the older Omen, like the old school Omens where they had the separation there. Honestly, pretty clean, nice little package there. So here we are booted up after taking it apart. Obviously the RAM works because it booted. When you swap the RAM, just be aware it will kind of sit there on a black screen for a little while the RAM gets trained. Don't think your computer is broken. Unless you did break it, but there's a very high probability it's just going to take, up to even 5 minutes to train the memory. So here's a look at the keyboard. Honestly, I like Victus keyboards. I just find them pretty snappy to type on. You can see here it's a pretty standard keyboard. You do have the standard size keyboard with a numpad over here. I've reviewed these several years in a row, and while they are gaming laptops, and a lot of people buy them are gamers who are looking for cheaper gaming laptops, a lot of them are actually students as well. I get a lot of students who buy these, and a lot of them do stuff like engineering. It's pretty common, and STEM type stuff, so numpad makes sense. They're going to be crunching numbers with it. The trackpad is slightly off-centered, not a ton, but just a little bit off-centered. Some laptops will actually put it right under the actual spacebar, which means it's going to be way over here. It might be a little weird. Here they kind of went a little bit. They did shift it a little bit in, but not all the way. So it's centered over there. So it's kind of a compromise. You do get stuff like the Omen button up here to bring up. I mean, honestly, it's pretty snappy. It's not the best keyboard around. Like the HP, like we're talking about HP, they have other keyboards that are better, but it's actually pretty nice. Honestly, I like it. The HP Omen has a different style where, an HP Omen, they're not fully separated. They have like, I don't know, they're like that key there, and then they kind of slope down, so they physically touch each other. There's enough of a slope that doesn't bother me. I just actually used an Omen Max for like 2 weeks straight as I was just messing around with it. I bought one and messed around with it. Got some data. Anyways, I got really used to that keyboard after trackpad is reasonable enough. It's big, actually, to be honest. You could get bigger ones on like professional laptops, but this is pretty big and it's nice and clicky. Not glass topped or anything, but nice and smooth, nice and clicky. I like. You will get a little bit of fingerprints on it because it is, a darker color, but it's really not going to be that bad. You'll be able to give it a quick wipe down and get rid of those things. Now, the software on these are usually pretty good. Okay, so here is honestly the weakest part of the laptop by far. If you watch my videos, you'll know that I'm a big screen guy, and I like really good screens. But everything is within context, right? If I'm buying myself a $2,000 laptop with Halo specs and it has a piece of shit screen on it, I'm not going to be happy, and I'm going to shit on the laptop in the review. If I'm buying myself a $650 or $700 laptop, something or whatever it is, with very moderate specs, you're focusing on performance, I'm going to be a little bit more kind. 144 hertz refresh rate is great. It's going to be good for gaming, and it's a 1080p screen. If I was doing professional work on a laptop, especially at 16 inches, personally, I would want more pixel density. So I would want 1600p, 1440p, whatever, something like that, because you get more pixel density. Not a big issue here. This laptop is definitely focusing on budget and especially gaming. The 5050 in here, you can of course game at 1600p, 1440p. However, you're going to really need to use a lot of upscaling, whereas 1080p here is going to be very comfortable to run at that. So, long story short, in context, I think this is a fine pairing. Again, for me, if I was using this as a daily driver, professional style laptop, that kind of stuff, I would shoot for 1600p because I would want that for professional work and just crispness. But honestly, with a 5050 in gaming, 1080p, you're going to just get more FPS as a result. You're going to be able to get by with less scaling overall. The other thing is, though, it doesn't have the best colors either. It's not, 100% sRGB screen, so you're not going to get those vivid, bold reds that you'd get out of a sRGB, a high sRGB screen, like 100% sRGB or 100% DCI-P3 like I use. You'll end up with a little bit of a muted kind of reddish, orangish tone here. Again, gamers do like good screens, so I would like to see that if it was possible, but it would actually drive up the cost a lot to put in 100% sRGB screen here, so I can see why they're doing it. Again, they're trying to make these things affordable, right? Like as affordable as possible. HP wants you to get into their laptops, right? And they want you to get into their laptops because you'll like it and you'll probably keep buying them. And so they're going to create a SKU like this that is reasonably spec'd out. It's not going to be, overkill on anything. It's going to be moderate. In a lot of things, it does focus on having pretty good performance overall. If there's somewhere that they're going to compromise here, it's going to be, the colors on the screen and that. So it's okay. You do get stuff like good blacks here. No problems there. The only place you're really going to notice the colors is the reds are not super vibrant. They're a little bit muted, kind of orangey a little bit. However, when you move into the other colors, blues, no problem. You will get a little bit of that in the greens, where the greens aren't just not quite as crisp and vivid in the NTSC, 45% NTSC versus 100% sRGB screens. You get a little bit of muting in the greens here, but primarily it's going to be the reds. In imagery like this, you can tell, but unless it was screen by screen, side by side, you're not going to be able to tell that much. Honestly, it still looks great. Like this looks great to me, honestly, because you're not in the area where the NTSC is being crushed. Honestly, it's the color bar where you can really notice it. If you have large swaths of red, you can notice it, but in a lot of cases, you'll be fine. And again, budget offering. So let's check the audio here. I'm not too worried about how loud it gets, a little bit, but I'm primarily just thinking, what do they actually sound like, honestly? Again, super budget laptop and gaming laptop, so I don't expect much, but let's see. I mean, they're fine. Whatever. They're fine. Again, we're looking at the market segment here. They're fine. They don't have a ton of bass, and they're not super rich or full or anything like that. But I'm going to be honest, they're not bad. Like they're not tinny and rattly and hollow sounding, and they're not going to bother you. You're not going to be like playing a game, especially being like, man, these speakers suck, and I'm not having fun. You're probably not going to care. If you listen to tons of music and that kind of stuff, it's not going to touch something like a MacBook. It's not even close. But for what they are, they're fine. Now, the software on these, I actually like HP software. I know it's blasphemy to like included software, and it's like, it's bloat and it's so bad. I just like it. So here it is. Here's the laptop. You get warranty details, some basic information stuff. You can get repairs if needed, talk to chat. I mean, it's not the right hours, but talk to chat. Talk to the phone if you need support warranties, and that HP actually has good warranties. I've used it not recently, maybe a year ago. It was good, liked it. I'm in North America, so maybe that's why, but generally speaking, I found the warranty and the support to be good. You do want to do updates through HP here. This is the HP support assist. You can do some basic management of your device here, but you're going to want to do updates here. You do not want to get your updates from Windows for hardware. You want to update your hardware yourself. So you're going to want to update NVIDIA drivers from NVIDIA. You're going to want to update, look at all these things. You're going to want to update all of this stuff from HP. This is hardware level drivers. So in here, you do have the Omen Hub. This is going to be software you're going to want to keep, like the Vantage software, or like the HP support software there. You do have lots of goodies in here. You can see all that RAM I added. I do recommend upgrading the RAM. That's going to be the one thing. 8 gigabytes is just not going to be enough, unfortunately. So in here, you do have your performance stuff, performance control. You can see you have different options here. How do you feel? Get out of here. You have your different modes here. Performance will be the highest watts. Default's kind of middle, quiet, eco. You can play with these. It'll increase your noise, but it will also increase your performance. Okay, let's check noise and thermals here. We'll also look at some performance. Now the 210H from Intel, the Intel Core 210H, it's not a beast by any means whatsoever, but it's also not like a bad CPU as well. It's just a refresh kind of thing. This laptop here, this specific Victus, is actually offered with higher CPUs as well. So if you find that, you get the 210, you're like, I want to get a little bit more power, you can actually step it up. It is customizable, you can get more power, but I intentionally wanted to review the lowest model, so in the 5050 and the 210, the actual lowest budget offering of this. Don't add anything to it, see what we can do with it. Maybe add some RAM, that's the only thing that I'd really add. So we'll come in here, we'll look at the performance of this here, and again, remember, you can potentially increase the performance on this laptop, of course, but you'd have to pay to spec it out a little bit. Performance control, just go like that. The laptop is silent when you're not doing anything, like just messing about in YouTube, Facebook, whatever, messing around, Windows. There's no noise, so there's nothing to measure. It's completely silent, or at least inaudible. So then we'll come in here though and we'll run performance. So again, this is just a 210H. It's not a monster or anything like that, but it's not a terrible CPU by any means either. It's not really meant for like CPU multi-threaded workloads like this. Honestly, it would actually be better just kind of as a gaming CPU. 8 cores. It's not some monster 20 core CPU or anything like that, but it should be fine. The cooling is, like I said when I opened it, it's pretty overpowered, to be honest. It's got pretty reasonable cooling and pretty overpowered cooling, and therefore reasonable specs. So you can see there is some throttling, but it's also like silent. Okay, now there's some fan, finally. My ambient noise is about 35 right now. There's actually someone watching TV pretty loud down the hallway. I'm not going to tell them to stop. Well, it's not my place to do that. So there's a little bit of extra ambient noise. This laptop is barely audible. Once the fans kicked in, that throttling went. So there was a little bit of throttling. The fans kicked in and went away. It should be about 10,600. Again, it's just an i5, 8 core. This is going to be more of a gaming CPU than anything. Then it's going to be for like heavy workloads. However, 10,623, you're going to be able to do heavy 4K video editing on this laptop. So if that's the kind of stuff that you do, you'll be fine. 10,000 is more than enough to make the actual editing process go nice and fast. And then of course you do have RTX graphics in it as well. Blackwell RTX graphics. So you're not going to struggle to do that. It's so quiet. Again, that CPU is overpowered. The cooling is overpowered for the CPU. What are the watts here? It boosted up to 7980. It's still sitting at 40. I mean, it's not the highest wattage offering, but it's still sitting at 45. It's basically silent. There is fan, but it's very quiet. If the mic exaggerates it, it's what it is. Looking at the included SSD, we're looking at mid-range Gen 4 Samsung drive. Should be no problems here. It'll be nice and quick overall. The included Wi-Fi is fast enough. It's about reasonable for where I am in my house here. My Wi-Fi can go faster, but I don't have the best reception in this area, so decent overall. Nothing special, but decent. Then, of course, looking at battery life, this is one area that I wasn't 100% sure. These Intel chips, these refreshes in the past didn't have the best battery life. They were okay. Here you can see that I'm just idling. I am at full brightness, but 60%, 60 hertz refresh, just kind of idling here in Windows, not doing anything. We're sitting at about 10 watts. So battery for as something like the Arrow Lake CPUs or the Lunar Lake, obviously it's not like that, but it's okay, not bad. Definitely, they've done some tuning for sure. Then I actually started browsing, so I just started browsing this actual laptop on the HP website. Honestly, it didn't add much to the overall battery drain. We're looking at about 11 watts. It's really not bad. It'll spike up a little bit when you click on a website, 13, 14, then drop right back down. So, I mean, it's not bad. Even browsing around, you're still probably going to get about 8 hours on the laptop. That is much more than I anticipated. It does have a huge battery, so that's one nice part there. Then I threw on some 1080p 60 YouTube. Honestly, it didn't make a huge difference again. Around 11 to 12 watts. It's not bad. So unless you're doing heavy CPU tasks like, Okay, here's a look at the built-in webcam. It is nothing special, but it works. I have like basically no light coming from the front. I have a light there and a light actually behind my head. I have the laptop, obviously, so that's that. And it's doing okay. I mean, you'll be able to do meetings. You'll be able to do that kind of stuff. You'll be fine. It's a lower budget gaming laptop, so it does exactly what you'd expect. Okay, so here we are in Final Fantasy. I'm going to do Final Fantasy because it's pretty heavy on the GPU and it's medium heavy on the CPU. Not as heavy as something like Cyberpunk, but I found that, especially at lower resolutions, it actually does hit the CPU heavier than I initially thought. I mean, it's just hard to run games. So we'll come in here and we can run VSync, doesn't really matter. We'll go with the medium type preset. We can play with the settings, but let's throw on just a little bit of scaling. Quick cut, by the way, I am going to only show one game in this video. I've already tested tons of games, and I'm going to have follow-up videos. So I only usually show 1 or 2 games in the video. Check out and watch for the follow-up videos where I'll just throw games at this thing. Just throw the games at this thing. I already recorded them, but you're not going to see all the gaming in this video because it gets to be tedious and becomes a 4-hour video. Check out the other ones if you want to watch live kind of game footage capture. We'll lock it to 66. So we know what it is. This is a medium preset with 66% scaling. I mean, it actually ends up with these basically being all high. So we'll come in here. We'll go high down the board here. Background model. I mean, we can try with ultra. So it's basically just more or less maxed. I will turn these down because doesn't do anything. So we'll turn down that there. And there's an ocean one. Yeah, so we'll turn ocean and fog. Who cares about fog? Okay, so that's pretty much high settings there. Okay. And there we go. So again, this is performance mode, the highest performance mode. Temperature is looking pretty good. 67, 68 on the GPU. CPU is same. Again, as I mentioned when I opened it up, it's pretty OP cooling for, a 210H and a 5050, not the highest wattage, hottest chips in general. And they're not going to be the highest wattage offerings either on top of that. And so we're not really going to have problems with temperatures in this laptop. It's been running for a while, actually. I was just messing about. Let's see what we have here for noise under full mode. 50-ish. Honestly, it's not bad. There's no whirring, buzzing, humming. It's just fan. White noise. Okay, so we've been running in performance mode for a little while here, the higher performance mode. Didn't make any difference there. It's still cool. Maybe a tiny bit more air there. I guess it's pushing more air out, but it's really not that bad. No problems in here. Very cool. I mean, it's also a plastic chassis. One of the nice things about plastic is it's easier on the skin because it doesn't transfer heat as much as like a metal thing. Let's look at the bottom here. You can hear the fans going a little bit more. Honestly, it's very cool. All this is very cool. The only hot spot is right here, but that wouldn't bother me. Like it's not hot. It's just hot relative to the rest. 40 degrees, that's nothing. Right, like you can put your bare skin on that, it's not going to hurt you or anything like that. Very good. So honestly, it's running pretty cool. Again, not the highest wattage offering, so that makes sense, but very good performance and very good temperatures. You can see the RAM there is 16. So, I mean, even from gaming, 8 gigabytes is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for Windows, it's not going to be enough for gaming. So the reason I went with 8 is because I just spec'd it out that way. You can get HP to do it, you know, buy 16 gigabytes or 32. Or if you have RAM on hand or you can get it cheap, buy it yourself. But I would recommend 16 is a little low. You could do it, as you can see, that's system, that's whole system. So we are making it under 16. I do have some extra programs open here I could close down. So I think you'll be viable with 16 gigabytes. I'd always recommend more, 24, 32 for longevity. But if just in the short term, you know, just grab yourself a 16 gigabyte kit and just pop that in. I mean, on top of the 8, you would then actually have 24, or you can just get another 8 gigabyte and just plop that in. And all of a sudden you got 16. I think you'll be okay for now. Down the road, you can always upgrade the RAM. It's running fine. We're getting an easy 60 here with scaling, but again, high settings, 1080p, high settings with some scaling. It's like 66%. You know, I didn't throw it all the way up to like 50 or 30% scaling, and it's not bad. CPU is going to have no problems. Honestly, it's a decent CPU, especially for gaming. And the 5050 is better than you might think. You can read specs on the 5050 and be like, it's going to go up to 100 watts. It doesn't even make sense to do that. I have a laptop that actually can push the 5050 up to 100 watts. It doesn't do anything. You're pretty much peaking at like 80, even like 60, 65 is like a reasonable amount for the 5050. As you start to add more and more watts, there is massively marginal gains on top of that. So I have no problem with a 60, 65 watt 5050. Honestly, I don't. It's going to run just fine. If you want to get more power, typically you're better off buying a 5060 laptop rather than getting, another 10 watts, 20 watts, 30 watts, 50 watts, 100 watts on the GPU. It's not going to do anything. So, okay, so that's that there. Let's come into the Omen, which is apparently closed. Okay, so we'll come in here and we'll go to performance mode. I don't think there's going to be really much change here, if anything, on default. It's way quieter though. The same watts. I guess it'll get a little warmer, I guess, because the fans will go quieter, but the wattages are basically the same. It's way quieter. Yeah, the temperatures go up a couple degrees, but I mean, why even use the highest setting? It's the same watts, it's the same performance, and it's way quieter. Okay, so the top setting actually might be pointless, to be honest. It just makes it louder, and the performance is essentially the same. There might be like maybe 3 or 4 watts less, I'm not even sure. It was sitting at about the same, so. I guess if you need like an extra frame or two, sure. But it's way, 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 way louder on that mode. Come to balance here. There should be a little bit of a drop here in wattages, I think, which will result in lower performance. There you go, yeah. So it dropped down now. 33 watts on that. That's pretty low watts. 33 watts on the CPU, on the GPU, and 20 on the GPU, on the CPU. This is like 20, this is like 50 to 55 combined watts, which is crazy. It's actually running pretty well too. It's essentially silent now. Let's come here. This isn't even silent mode or battery mode or whatever. Look at it. It's so quiet. Okay, I let it run for a little while, like actually quite some time. I just wanted to see what happened with the temperatures in this kind of silent mode. They actually just went down. So yeah, it's very quiet and the temperatures are actually better. I just let the laptop essentially cool off for a bit. So we'll come here now. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to come in. Now, again, we are lowering the watts a lot. This is like USB-C gaming, to be honest. This is such low wattage. So let's just lower this. Actually, let's just go here. We'll go custom. We'll go medium. Background model. Put that to medium. Ocean. We'll put medium where we can, but we won't put low in a lot of these. So medium, medium, medium. I will turn shadow and fog down. You can see the settings there. I'm going to put that scaling back to where it was. I just do it so that I know what it is, essentially. Let's see what happens here now. We've lowered the settings. Yeah, that's a huge jump. So I mean, performance mode with like very high settings, and we were getting, around 60-ish gaming. Here the watts are so low. And, we're not going to pull off like a static 60 or anything, but you're going to be fine. Like, look at the performance here. And this is a very hard area of the game to run in that it hits the CPU and the GPU. There's just a lot going on. I mean, look at that performance, right? It is actually quite impressive here. That fan you're hearing is not the laptop. It's my something else behind me. It's just kicked in for some reason. I'll turn off in a second. Okay, here we are in that silent mode. As you can potentially hear or not hear, it's very quiet. See the temperatures there, 32. I mean, that's like my hand temperature, right? My hand is 33 to 34. That's cooler than my hand. It looks red, but it's like in those cracks, you'll get a little bit of temperature, but the actual keys aren't warm. Back here, not warm on the screen at all. Screen's nice and cool. Nice thing is there is a bezel there, so any heat going out there, it's not going to be a problem. Very good. Let's just have a quick look at the bottom here, which would potentially be sitting on your lap. I don't expect any real problems here. So your lap's going to be here. Under 30 there. How about these like hotter spots? Even that's the hottest spot there, really. Right here. I can feel a little bit of warmth here. It's still not super hot though. But I mean, this is raised up, so that's the only real warm spot, and it wouldn't really bother you. So very good. Okay, now let's kick it up to the higher performance, let it run for a bit. And you know, it's essentially just incredibly quiet. It's like, I mean, I can hear that there are fans going, but that's all that I'll say. It is incredibly quiet. This really shows how efficient the 5050 is. Well, I actually like the 5050 quite a bit this year because it's 8 gigabytes of VRAM, so you're not going to choke on that. It gives respectable performance at its peak watts, but the thing is, when you really do drop the watts down, it can still put in work. Like, we're getting almost 60 here at sub 30 watts on that GPU. And the CPU, you know, this game can be pretty heavy on the CPU actually. And in the silent mode, it's doing very well. Right? Look at this performance here. What more do you want from it? Okay, so what do I think about the HP Victus or Victus 2025? It's good. I mean, I liked it. I don't know if I did it in 2024. Maybe the last one that I did. Every time I've touched an HP Victus, we'll put it that way, I like them. For what they are, I mean, they're budget friendly, very budget friendly laptops, but they don't skirt a bunch of areas where you're going to be like, man, this thing really blows. And, you know, I paid all this money. It's not like that. It's like, it's good and I didn't pay very much for it. So, I mean, this is where a lot of people need to be. In general, I know that a lot of my audience is not swimming in mad cash. I'm not swimming in mad cash. We also have economic downturn going on right now, and it's going to be going on for some time. So it's tough for people to justify a Super Halo laptop. Some people can, some people are going to splurge, some people can find a way of doing it, especially for work and school. But some people, it's just like, no, man, like I need like a laptop in this price range. What can I get? This is a very compelling offer. So negatives, honestly, I have none. Zero. Where's the camera? Zero. Look at me. Zero negatives with this laptop for the price. The screen is the weakest part of this laptop. I would like to see HP find a way to put 100% sRGB in here. I mean, it's a 45% NTSC. That's my only real negative about it. Like overall, 45% NTSC, it's not great. The colors are not great. It's not the brightest screen, but again, for the price, whatever. High refresh, it's crispy enough, whatever, 1080p. For the segment, I would like to see 100% sRGB. If they could find a way, like monetarily, HP, if you could find a way to get 100% sRGB in this screen, this laptop would be like obscene. It's tough. Like, I mean, with the budget you're looking at here, I mean, it makes sense. It's not going to compete with an HP Omen Max, with a 5090 and an OLED, right? It's not even remotely compared to that, right? If you're looking at like a super premium hybrid portable thing, it's not going to compete with the HP OmniBook X, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. What this is a super cheap, low-cost laptop that has really good performance, and the actual design is really nice. So, outside chassis, very respectable. There's a lot of plastic on here, obviously, at this price bracket, but it looks clean, right? This is the type of laptop, no one's going to look at it and be like, that's a cheap laptop. No, this looks nice, right? It also doesn't look too gamery or too professional. It's a nice in the middle. This is kind of what I like, where it's like, it's a little bit of gamer, like it does have a little bit of gamer going on here, but it doesn't scream it. right? It's not absolutely screaming gamer at the same time. It's respectable. It's a respectable looking laptop. Looks good. You know, you're going to take this into like, you know, class, business meeting, and it doesn't scream gamer. Not that it matters, like who cares if you're a gamer, but at the same time, sometimes you just don't want like a big flashy RGB thing like in a business meeting. It's just weird. It's distracting as well. So something like this is going to sit in there very nice. It also does have aesthetic gamer vibe, right? You get the little Gundam bum on the back there. Like, just a nice looking laptop, honestly. It's pretty thin too, right? Relatively thin laptop, honestly. I mean, it's actually very thin, to be honest. Keyboard is very nice for what it is. Again, not a metal keyboard deck or anything like that, but there's really no flex on this thing. It's a thin laptop, so it's just like motherboard underneath. So you don't have keyboard flex. Trackpad is just fine. Speakers are just fine. No problems there. That would be like the only thing, like really, like whatever. Webcam fine. Battery is actually better than I thought. I mean, it is a refresh 13th gen processor, but I guess like they have tuned it over time. Like, it's not like literally the same chip. They do things, they tweak them a little bit. Drivers get better. So, I mean, it actually parks pretty well. I mean, you actually get decent battery life. Whether you're idling, browsing, or watching YouTube, it doesn't park like the actual true idle of this is not going to be as good as like an Arrow Lake laptop from Intel. Those are just like something special, but it actually parks pretty well. I was pretty impressed with the battery life on this laptop. Internals are very good. Tons of upgradability in this laptop, honestly. Like, if I gave it a score, it would be like the best you can get, really. Honestly, the upgradability is very good. And the cooling is like overpowered for the wattages in here. So as a result, you can game with this thing running very quiet in the balanced mode and like lose almost no performance, or none, to be honest. So that's very impressive. You also have good performance in general. So the 210H in this specific config, the 210H and the 5050 work just fine. The CPU is not a Cinebench monster. Like, it's not going to be right, like meant for like the highest CPU tasks, but it gets the job done. Honestly, it gets the job done. And in gaming, it's not going to hold back a 5050. Honestly, it's not going to hold back a 5050. And the 5050 is fine. It's just fine. I have two current daily drivers. I have a DGPU and a non-DGPU laptop. My dedicated graphic laptop is just a 5050, and it's like similar watts to this. Honestly, it's fine. It does very good for content creation, professional work, and it works just fine for gaming. It doesn't bother me at all. I have no problems with it. So I'm pretty happy with the 5050 in general. Before they even came out, I told people I was excited for the 5070 Ti and the 5050, because the 5050 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM and a pretty spruced up over the 4050, and it turned out to be very true. And then the 5070 Ti, because it's 12 gigabyte, whatever. But the 5050 Ti is like kind of the absolute winner this generation, because they just bumped it up. Like, they added another 2 gigabytes of VRAM, so that's not going to be an issue for you. It does have a spec and performance bump on top of that, and it's also just so damn efficient that when you throw this thing into like 30 watts, it still runs. So yes, it's not like a full wattage, not running at 250 watts tech guy, Bo, so it's a shitty laptop. No, I don't want to hear that. Under its full wattage, it's just fine for what it's supposed to do. If you need more performance, and you're like, I need to have a 115 watt 5050. Well, it's not going to do anything for one thing. Then just get a 5060. Like, and even that I wouldn't run at 115 watts. I'd run at 100 watts. So I'm fine with it. And I also really like the pairing at lower wattage. When you want this thing to like just, you know, really just sip power, it has good performance for what it is. And of course you can spec it out. So if you need more CPU, I can see people needing more CPU. 5050. I mean, I don't really, depending on what games you play, sure, you can buy a 5060, 5070, 5070 Ti. But for a lot of people, then you're just adding a ton of cost to the laptop. So, I mean, depends on you. But I can see some people needing more CPU, like adding a 240H, depending on what type of workflow you do. If you do a lot of like heavy compute type tasks, programming, that kind of stuff, you might want to beef up the CPU. If you need, I know you do watch my videos. If you can find a way to get 100% sRGB screen in this laptop, you don't change anything else, just that, I'd be like, this thing would dunk on everybody else like so hard. But as it is, it's good. It's a great laptop. So very nice. Honestly, if you're looking for a budget one, like a true budget laptop, actually check out the Victus. I've been recommending it. I've had this for a couple weeks, and I've been like stealth recommending it to people before the review who are like have tight budget. I'm like, yeah, check out the Victus. Like, trust me, check out the Victus.